Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, the art of production design can mean many things. It can mean world building, creating big new landscapes to shoot in, or it can be sort of adding layers and nooks and crannies into something that already exists. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean that you're in the seats with once more. We already exist, so there you go. Uh, Thanks for being here, as always, and you know, as a, just if you like what you're hearing, please keep listening because you're here and we love it. Give us that like and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So for this audio-only experience, please give us a like and subscribe there as well. We'd absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Blue Sky, the Threads. There's other stuff, but it's in the seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the movie image at large. Because, guess what? If we live to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it all that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that ultimate kindness. Come on by and pay us a visit. You will not regret it. It's been another hot and sticky day here in the mean streets of Toronto, and, well, we're working hard for you because it is Emmy season, believe it or not. The Emmy voting is up and going and live, and all your favorite shows are being discussed and talked about for who's going to win what and who's going to get nominated for what. And we've got a myriad of interviews with people behind the scenes to talk about sort of the art of what they do to make our favorite shows come to life. First up, we're going into, well, one of my favorite shows, Slow Horses, or Slough Houses, as it were, on our friends over at Apple TV Plus. And we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with the production designer, Choi Ho Man, to talk about how she, well, got the job as an art director to start off, but then also just really adding layers to this world of Slow Horses, because obviously, you know, London is already predetermined. There are certain sets that are already predetermined, but in this world of spies and intrigue and, you know, things that go on even with, you know, nasty looking Gary Oldman, there's layers. There's always stuff going on. And the art of production design is to sort of add those layers to make us, you know, think and give us somewhere to go. And like I said, we talked with Choi Ho Man about her work and how she got the job and all that sort of fun stuff. But this is one of those shows where, you know, this is where the art form of it, I think, doesn't get noticed as much because, like I said, it's you know, pubs are easy. Their offices are predetermined. The city of London is predetermined, but it's finding those nooks and crannies to sort of give us something different, and I think they do a great job on this show. But if you haven't seen Slow Horses yet, my God, what are you waiting for? It is one of my favorites. It is a fantastic show. But first, enjoy our talk with Choi Ho Man about the art of production design on a show like this, as everyone is clamoring for some Emmy attention and some love. It's a good conversation. It's an even better show. We'll talk to you soon. Well, I mean, obviously, first off, just thank you so much for the time today, and I mean, just congratulations on your work on the show. It literally is one of my favorite shows on TV right now.
Oh, that's so nice to hear.
Now, you've really evolved with the show, and I mean, it just in a thing like this, it really does feel like your job is like you're adding layers on top of layers on top of layers. Like, can you talk a little bit about, especially for season five, just adding? Because I mean, I can imagine the show is at a point where you're not having to rebuild everything from scratch, that kind of thing. And it's really more about sort of the extra layer of nuance at this stage, in the stage of
Yes.
the run. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, but I think the thing about this show in particular is that it's never felt like it's static in that sense. It always feels like Slough House is a reflection of the state of mind of the characters or their emotional kind of interactions and what's going on at that particular point. And I think the way the way the story works, it just gives you so much opportunity to really run with that and, really kind of just express something different every time.
No, I think that's fair because I mean, just to in me and watching it, it really did feel like Slough House is turning more and more into this kind of labyrinth that is becoming increasingly hard to escape. And I mean, obviously, you know, there's going to be literal challenges for that, but at the same time, you're crafting something that has to be able to be expressed visually. Like, how do you sort of externalize sort of how these characters feel in a visual sense, is maybe the best way to put it.
Well, I guess, I mean, you start with the story, don't you? So at the end of season four, when, the big shootout happens, you
Yeah.
kind of go, well, what do we do now? We've just shot all the windows out. What do we do? Do we restore it and go back to square one? No, I don't think so. And I don't think whoever runs this place, whoever's in charge of procurement and kind of like, you know, whatever the government body would be that, would send the people around just to fix it up and clean it up, they probably would take a view and say, it needs updating and it's, we don't want to spend money on it, so we'll just do it like this. And we had that became something which just kind of caught on, and we just, as we were walking around recceing for other locations, because obviously there's a heavy element of location
Yeah.
work in each season. It just seemed like there was a lot of building work around, and it just seemed like we could just play with that because it expresses something about the social situation in the UK and builders in general who turn up and then don't actually do anything except put loads of stuff in your pathway and half do things and then disappear for weeks. There's all of that kind of thing that we wanted to kind of use as part of our kind of that creative, and it's a time when their lives are shattered and everything is shifting, and you know there's a bit of rebuilding going on, but it's not them that's rebuilding it. It's kind of it's a kind of work in progress all the time at Slough House, and you never quite know where anybody is emotionally because it's always shifting.
Well, I mean, I think that's the magic of it because again, I mean, I think this applies to the whole show. And I mean, I don't want it to speak ill of the City of London, but it really does feel like your job is to grimy it up a little bit,
Oh
to
yeah.
to give us extra layers of sort of the not just the sort of the intrigue that we have to go on, but even with sort of Jackson and having to sort of sit in his slump and drinking his pints and doing what have you, there has to be sort of almost sort of a perverse joy to sort of having to build something that's kind of dirty and kind of grimy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We love it. We love a bit of cable trunking. We love a bit of, broken down concrete. We love a bit of anything that's industrial looking, or you'd find us walking around just kind of taking snaps of kind of things that most people would just think, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that. And we kind of go away and recreate that. So that's kind of, it's almost like that's our aesthetic and that's what we apply to as much as we can.
Is that something that comes from sort of the showrunners, or like how much sort of I guess rope do you get to sort of to be creative on this? Because obviously you've worked on numerous shoots around London, but this definitely has a feel that is unique to itself.
Yeah. I mean, the showrunners and the director have quite a strong, um, you know, response when we show them something and say, is this too much? Is this okay? Can we go with this? And they were really kind of collaborative and generous and were very, very kind of up for anything that we kind of presented. So we were quite lucky that, we were all on board with the same thing and everybody wanted to show that kind of underbelly, the real underbelly, and to really kind of enhance that universe that Jackson Lamb really kind of like lives in. And it is harsh and it is gritty for most people, and it is a bit kind of imperfect, or rather it's very imperfect, and it's quite nice to be able to have the time and the money to do that.
For sure, for sure. I mean,
Mm.
can you gravitate towards the source material and read the books, or do you have to sort of rely on the directors and the showrunner for that kind of thing?
I I prefer to work with the director and the showrunner about, with all of that kind of stuff. I mean, I do read books, but I kind of tend to leave them behind. Once the script comes in, it's, you know, we're then working together with a common goal, and your focus is very different, I think. Um, I've lost my point there.
No, no, but I mean, it's a unique show because it's like you're not rebuilding London, but you're having to rebuild these layers inside of London,
Yeah, I mean,
which are
it's
open to
based.
interpretation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the joy of it is that in each season we manage to go to, so many different locations. And, you know, there's actually quite a lot of thought put into how we can stage things without repeating the same thing over and over again. And so that's really good. And that, all the chase sequences are always really good fun because they, take in lots of different areas of London where you've got to patch things together and work out the routes. Um, all of that's just, that's all part of what's available and what our aesthetic draws us to and what we think is going to work and engage, the audience.
Now, I've got to ask because obviously, to get the length of a run that Slow Horses has had is fairly uncommon, not only in British TV but in TV in general these days. What are the like? Is there an extra level of creative sort of joy and award for you to sort of be able to carry these characters and this universe through sort of a longer arc rather than sort of having to sort of wash your hands of it after the sort of that initial 6, 8 episodes?
Well, that is an interesting question. I mean, when we finished the first two seasons, which ran together,
Yeah.
um, and I was asked to come back for the third and fourth season, it didn't at all feel to me like I was going into season two or something. It felt like I was going to make another two movies with
Mhm.
people that I knew and with a team of creatives who I, it was almost like going on to another job with the same team of creatives, put it that way. Even though it was the same sort of story, it was the same characters, and they inhabit the same offices, it just didn't feel like we were repeating the same thing. It felt like we were actually coming at it from a different perspective. And that was true all the way through. Every season that I did felt exactly like that.
That's fantastic. I love that because again, it speaks to sort of the I guess the need to sort of I mean, I guess probably this is probably true in sort of the streaming age because we want to sort of aggrandize television a bit more and make it feel a bit more cinematic is probably the best way to put it, to give
Yeah.
audiences these longer arcs. And I mean, for you, and I'm always curious about everyone's different jobs because I mean, obviously to make these shows, it takes a village and everyone's putting in so much hard work. But I mean, we're at the end of the day, where does the creative payoff come for you? Is it sort of in these bigger moments that people can love and appreciate, or is it in sort of the smaller, sort of minutia details that you get to sort of apply in there that maybe only a couple people will see, but maybe tickles you?
I think I think the recognition, the kind of the collective recognition that Slow Horses is such a uh uh it's been noticed by so many people and it's been loved by so many people and it goes on and it's, I just think that really, that's my takeaway from it. I love the fact that it's been so successful and, for those people that put it together, how brilliant. That's how, it just feels absolutely, I feel blessed that I was part of it. It's one of those 1 in 10.
No, I mean, I've got to ask because you've gotten to work on another favorite show of mine, The Capture. And I mean,
Oh
it
yeah.
really does feel like getting to sort of play inside London allows for so much more than I can possibly imagine. And just as a viewer, can you describe sort of I guess, the joy of having such a metropolitan of London as sort of your landscape to sort of find every nook and cranny humanly possible to take characters down?
Yeah, well, yeah, you just have to be very tenacious and you have to, I've lived here for forever and you get to know your own city, don't you? But if you don't work anywhere else, you really get to know your own city. And so we all know the usual places, but part of that always comes into play, but you need to kind of try and, change the way the audience can enjoy that space. So we will go into places that people have gone to many times over and we'll transform it because, the structure and the architecture is there, but we'll make it into something else. But it's wonderful to have so much here, but it's such a big footprint of a city,
Mm.
um, and all the different pockets, all the different areas. I'm shooting in, and we're in Enfield and Watford and Hertfordshire at the moment, and that again is a totally different kind of, feel, look. It's quite subtle, but it's quite nice to be able to kind of, draw on that and then try and reproduce it.
Love that. Love that. Now, this is something I wanted to ask, but ultimately, what got your foot in the door? What got you into this business to be sort of part of these teams that make these shows that we all love?
So I was very fortunate, um, as a young graduate who studied architecture. I hand wrote a letter to the BBC when I graduated, speculatively asking, "Dear BBC, I wonder if you have any graduate training schemes for, people with a degree in architecture." And they sent me back a typed letter, which I have on my fridge at home. It's A5 size and it's got a BBC, header on it. And it says, "Dear Choi Ho Man, we are possibly recruiting for our um, summer cover design assistant. Would you like to come in with your portfolio? Here's the date." And I can't believe that got my foot in the door. I didn't even, I didn't know anybody in the business. I didn't really know if I could work in the business. I just had an inkling from a friend who said, "Why don't you see if you could work for them?" And by luck, I just managed, I just managed to get taken on for a short period of time. And that was it. I didn't ever look back.
Well, and I mean, that speaks to sort of the power that so many young people tend to forget these days. Like, there's so much power in just asking because you
Just
never
ask,
know,
yeah, yeah,
because you
because
never
no,
know.
exactly, exactly. They can only say no. They might say yes.
Now, I mean, I gotta ask, is there anything you want to do? Like, is there any sort of project that you'd love to tackle one day? Because I mean, again, as we're talking with slow horses, it's layers upon layers upon layers. Like, is there a temptation to do something sort of shiny and new, or do you like sort of the weathered layers that something like slow horses can sort of add texture to?
I think for me, whatever it is that I do, I'd like to read it, is the story that's important. I don't
Right.
have a particular direction I want to go in, but if the story is right, it doesn't matter what what the genre is. I think that's the most important thing for me, and working with people that I think, are a part of the same journey that we're all going on. Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. I don't, I don't know.
No, but I think you're right though, because I mean, I think that's why Slow Horses works because it's power of story and it's the power of all these talented people coming together to achieve the same goal. And I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it's been such a great run, and I can't wait for more. Just I lap it up every time it drops. But just again, thank you for the work and the insight, and thank you for the time today. I appreciate it.
That's okay, no problem.
All righty, talk to you
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
very much.
you're very welcome.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu ray needs.